Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the CFL DFS live stream video for week number 14. In this video, I will be going through my sheet, kind of breaking it down whether or not I would play specific players in GPP formats, kind of cash game plays, pay down option, dart throw type of stuff like that. And then I'll go over a little bit of kind of in terms of where I would be at in stacking certain players together, whether or not I'd probably be overweight or underweight to players on the field. Keep in mind that CFL ownership is pretty hit or miss at this point. Transactions before we did start the stream ultimately. So going to be a couple things we'll talk about there too as well, but nothing that should majorly affect the slate at this point in time. So we're going to start off with the Tiger Cats. Taylor Powell is coming off a really strong game. He's $8,800. I don't really consider him a GPP play because he hasn't really shown too much promise outside of last week. So if you want to go out there and play him and kind of take a contrarian stand there, you could definitely do it, but not something I'm really going out of my way to do this week. It did look like in the transactions that Mike Glass is going over to the practice squad. So maybe we see, Levi Mitchell or Matthew Schultz. One of them might be back this week. Probably Matthew Schultz since he's been out for a while. But we'll just keep an eye on that one. At running back, James Butler is $10,800. Still a very viable GPP option. Behind him, Tariq McAllister had the really strong performance last week at $7,100. But, that was mainly on the back of kick returning. So not really too gung-ho about rolling him out there this week. And then we move down to our wide receivers. Tim White's been really good as of late, $9,300. GPP option, if you wanted to play Taylor Powell, you should probably be playing him alongside Tim White or Terry Godwin at this point in time. But I still think that both of them are going to be very strong GPP options. Duke Williams is out this week due to an ankle injury, so we're not going to be too worried about him. We might see a little bit of a step up for somebody else, whether it's Keandre Smith, Richie Sadini, who are, both under 3K at this point in time, but, they're more dart throws than anything. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. Maybe Kyle Oxley slips into the wide receiver room just a little bit as well, since we've seen that happen at times this season. And then when I was kind of going through this stuff, it looked like, let's see, in the transactions over here, I was just trying to find where I was at again for that. It sounded like they did move Anthony Johnson to the non-active, which I'm assuming is the practice squad for this part in time. Looks like Omar Bayless is back on the team or was moved up to the active roster. So just keep an eye on that. I'll try to leave a comment down below and kind of make a note in the sheet for those who are subscribed on the Patreon page as well. In terms of their defense, I think their GPP option, they're going against Ottawa. Ottawa's kind of been a little lackluster as of late, so I think there is room to be doing pretty well there, especially if they can contain Dustin Crum in the running game. So Dustin Crum on the opposite side for the Red Blacks, $10,700. He does have the rushing upside. I'm just not really really considered paying up for this point in time at $10,700. A little bit too expensive for me at this point in time. There was news that they were going to bring Jake Dunaway up for the active roster. Not sure what they're doing with all these quarterbacks at this point in time, but that will be kind of interesting to see. Devontae Williams should get a larger workload this week at $6,600. So if you really want to roll him out and a fine option, but he kind of has that limited upside. Jackson Bennett behind him is out this week due to back injury. And then Anti-Milik Liter, $2,500 could be like kind of a dart throw if you want to go there. The 1 week when Jackson was out, he did score 2 touchdowns. So there's something to keep in mind. Then we got the fullbacks, not worried about either one of them. And then for their wide receivers, Justin Hardy's still a very viable GPP option. Probably be in line with the field on him once again. When we go back to the Tiger Cats, probably be a little bit overweight on the field on Terry Godwin this week, probably in line with the field on overweight to the field on James Butler. Since I was trying to mention that, didn't really get to it when I was talking about them. We got Ackland's kind of been doing a little bit better for them as of late, but $7,400, is upside really isn't there most of the time. Nate Bahar is back this week. He was dealing with an injury, missed their most recent game. Shaq Evans, Braylon Addison, Addison came back in their most recent game as well. $3,000 for him. Shaq Evans, $3,900. I consider both kind of pay down options, but just kind of one offs. Probably not going to be making any major stands on them, but if you want to fill them in as lineup fillers, could be in play. And then Mariner and Smith at $2,500, not really getting to this week. For the season, going against Taylor Powell, it's still a pretty inexperienced quarterback, so there's some upside to be had there. $3,800. You could definitely make a stand there if you really want. Ricardo is only $8,700 this week, but hasn't been playing the greatest as of late. Still a consider him a GPP option. Maybe we can make a stand there in GPPs just in general, getting some more. William Stanbeck, GPP option, $7,700. This price tag really dropped. So, well, Fletcher's not active this week. He should be a pretty strong player once again, because when Fletcher's been active, they kind of, use Fletcher in a decent workload and kind of even sometimes those running backs together. Not too worried about the fullbacks. Austin Max, kind of that GP option is always $11,000. Definitely worth the price tag most weeks, though. Kyan Julian Grant behind him, $9,100. He's on IR, but he did start practicing this week. Was limited on Tuesday and Wednesday, so we'll see when he also begins this week. GPP option. Cole Speaker did get brought back up to the active roster last week. Kind of filled in at the wide receiver position where they've had a lot of injuries. So $4,100. Not really getting there myself. Same thing with Chandler Worthy. Tyson Philpott would be kind of the other one at $3,500. Kind of just a pay down option this week. Greg Ellison did return last week, but didn't practice on Wednesday due to a knee injury. We'll see what his status ultimately looks like after today's practice. Not really too interested in these other guys. Kevin Kaya was either cut or put on the practice squad at this point in time with those transactions that kind of shook out this week overall. Reggie White Jr. did start practicing this week. He has not played a game yet this season, so we'll kind of monitor his status, but probably not going to be anything till at least next week. And then that Alouettes defense, they've been pretty decent this year, $4,000, but against the Argonauts, probably not getting to them this week, so probably not going to make any major stands in that regards. Chad Kelly, $11,800 for the Argonauts. GPP option there. When we get over to just going back real quick to the Alouettes, if you're playing Cody Fajardo, you're going to play him with, one of those three wide receivers, pretty standard there. But, I'm going to mix and match those three wide receivers quite a bit in some different lineups as well. And then for the Argonauts running game, AJ Alouette still looks like a very viable GPP option, probably just in line with the field on him this week, not making any major stands. Andrew Harris has played a little bit more as of late, so if you really want to take a dart throw on him, you could probably do it. And then as we keep moving down, Spencer Nichols, the fullback, still on IR at this point in time. We'll see if he comes back anytime soon. Devarius Daniels, Demonte Coxie, Cam Phillips. He really hasn't done anything big for us at this point in time. So now again to him, Brissett every once had the one big game earlier this year, but for the most part, just kind of mix and match on those three wide receivers with Chad Kelly, making a couple of one-offs of them just in general. Argonauts defense is very much in play against the Alouettes, especially with how Cody Fajardo's kind of played as of late. So I think they're a very viable GPP option. Maybe you could roll them out in cash if you really wanted to do so as well. Feel like I got a sneeze coming on here, so if that does happen, I do apologize for that. Moving over the right, we got $8,900 some value in yeah. Wow. We saw Pipkin score the 2 touchdowns. That is to Delgado. But he was limited on Wednesday due to a hamstring injury. Probably not back at this point in time. And I think the way at least Jake Dolegala has played so far has kind of warranted him having some time. And we keep moving Dixon come back up onto the active roster last week, got a couple carries, but nothing too major. Jamal Morrow still kind of the main back here, $8,100 could be a viable GPP option. Maybe get a little bit of extra exposure to him this week. You know, he's had those big receiving games at times this season, so that could make him a little bit more interesting. And then we have Thomas Bertrand, Hooten behind there at $2,500. Didn't practice on Wednesday due to an illness, so we'll just kind of monitor that, but no major effect there whatsoever. For the wide receivers, you know, I'm mainly looking at Sean Jr. and Samuel Emlis as kind of my GPP options, kind of getting a little bit of exposure to them with Jake Dolegala. Tevin Jones did kind of bounce back last week at $8,500 with a decent game, so if you really want to get back there, you could. Jake Winicky wasn't active last week, healthy scratch there, so probably going to be the same this week. And then Jerry Stearns at $4,700 has been a pretty good paydown option more weeks than not. You know, Mario Alford, if you think there's going to be a lot of kick returning opportunities in this game, $3,300 is not a bad price for him whatsoever, since we do get those, you know, half point per like 10 yards for kick return in CFL DFS. And then Jawan Briskin, probably mispronouncing his name, but he did return to the lineup last week, was not involved whatsoever, though. And then the Rough Riders defense. To shoot up. On the Blue Bomber side, Zach Collaros, $10,800, so $100 more than last week. GPP option there. You could be a potential cash game play as well. Brady Oliveira, running back's been really good as of late, so $10,500. GPP option there, probably be a little bit overweight to the field on Collaros, probably in line or slightly overweight to the field on Oliveira this week, which is not a stance that I made too much this season, but it's kind of hurt in the Greg McCray, there was something about him. Looks like going down to the practice squad. So we'll just kind of monitor that situation, what that all looks like. I'm not sure if they brought anybody else up at this point in time. We'll kind of leave a couple extra comments down below this video so you guys are up to date as possible on that as well. And then kind of the three big wide receivers for Winnipeg, you're just kind of taking a shot on them. Dalton Shane, Kenny Lawler, and Nick Dominski. Nick Dominski has been my favorite just because he's been the most consistent this year, and he's the cheapest of the three. But the other two probably have a little bit bigger upside. So that's just kind of a stand that you have to pick yourself. But I'd probably play 2 or 3 with Collaros if you can. But you're going to have to compromise elsewhere if you're playing 2 of them due to the high price tag of, you know, the 2 of these wide receivers alongside Zach Collaros, who's $10,800 himself. We saw Drzuski did get the touchdown last week. He's had touchdown games this year, so if you really want to make a dart throw on him or Rashid Bailey, you could do it. Jerian Grant was just extended on IR, so he won't be back anytime soon. And then that Blue Bombers defense, $4,900. You know, it wasn't the greatest week for them this week against the Rough Riders. I think they're a viable GPP option, but not anything that I would call a cash game or anything like this at that point in time. But most of the defenses in the CFL weren't that great last week for DFS purposes. $1 at this point in time. He ran all over the Stampeders team last week. So you probably should kind of expect the same this week. So solid GPP option, potential cash game option. Really good week for quarterback because Trey Ford looks pretty good. Zach Collaros looks pretty good. Jack Kelly always in play. Cody Fardo's cheap this week. So you got 5 viable starting quarterback options, so it's going to make for an interesting DFS slate. So probably in line, slightly overweight to Trey Ford at this point in time. Kevin Brown, our running back, GPP option, probably just in line with the field on him this week, $8,000. But he's had really good performances. Trey Ford had. I still consider like a GPP touchdowns late. Probably a guy I'm going to be underweight to the field on once again. I feel like I won't call it. You know, 6,600 GPP. He's kind of my favorite wide receivers. So I'm kind of most taking that. $2,600. I think that Alex can play at $3,600. Taking it really hit or miss the season, and if they kind of he goes really not interested in Jake Mayer for the decent that Alex so as well. Just in either point in time If you miss, then Key Carey gets a lot more. This is a viable pay down option, especially with his punt return abilities. Clark Barnes still on IR. Trey Oaks Dudum has been on the practice squad like last couple of weeks, so probably not going to make a major role. Markeith Ambles actually played really well last week. I still like him as a pay down option at $3,500. Cole Tucker didn't practice on Wednesday due to a head injury, so we'll just monitor his status. Luther, he's good for a touchdown here and there, but not much else. Ricer John hasn't done anything all year. Neither has Tyson Middlemus. Not really too interested in that Stampeders defense that got ran all over by the Elks last week. So that's kind of a quick overview of where I'm at. Like just in general, like I said, quarterbacks, there's 5 viable options there. Running backs, I'll get a lot of James Butler, a lot of Brady Oliveira, a decent amount of AJ, Kevin Brown, here and there. But that's probably mainly where I'm at the running back position, unless something else majorly happens. I'll probably make a little bit of a stand on Jamal Morrow this week as well. Wide receivers, I touched on it pretty good, I feel like, but no major stands this week for wide receivers. Overweight or underweight, probably a little bit in line with the field for most. Unless I said otherwise. And, I'm going to go around and hope that game goes in well. I'm probably going to enjoy Elouette on that end as well. So that's just kind of where I'm at in general. If you guys have any other additional questions for CFL, sure drop them in. More than happy to help you. And over there, you get some NFL DFS as well. MLB DFS, it's Monday through Friday as well. So there's been a lot of different opportunities for a very small price over there, especially if you're playing DFS for multiple sports. But with that being said, definitely appreciate each and every one of you. If you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's really for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we got MLB DFS Monday through Friday, CFL DFS once a week, and then after that, NFL starting up this week. So we'll be doing some NFL DFS content tomorrow. So definitely be sure to look out for that, as well as my college football show over on the Sports Affiliation channel. Definitely be sure to check them out and get subscribed over there if you have not already. But with that being said, that's all that I have at this point in time. Hopefully each and every one of you have a good rest of your day, no matter which day you're watching this. A pretty good weekend and some good luck in CFL DFS for week number 14.